now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Rev Nathaniel W Martin. Here's Rev Martin.
Thank you, Brother Blackwell. And let me say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but never good night and never ever goodbye. I hate goodbyes. My name is Rev Nathaniel W Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church, located at 8916 South Main, here in the city of Los Angeles. We are worshiping with our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church. Dr. Della F. Hollinas is the pastor, and we have a good time when the Baptists and the Charismatics get together. There's a shouting in the camp. We invite you to any and all of our services. We're going to be talking about reparations today. We have two guests with us. We have Brother Royce Esters. And we have Brother Jonathan Taylor here with us in studio. And but just before we get going, we're going to read our reparations text, which is from the 15th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy in the Old Testament. Picking up the reading at verse number 12. I'm reading it off to my iPhone because if I try to read off my Bible, I can hardly see it, but I can see it real good off my iPhone. It says, "And if thy brother, an Hebrew man, or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him or her go free from thee. And when thou sendest them out free from thee, thou shalt not let them go away empty. Thou shalt furnish them liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto them." So you see, my brothers and my sisters, starting off from the very jump street, that chattel slavery as practiced in the Bible Belt across the length and breadth of this country, and yes, all through the original 13 colonies, never fulfilled the biblical mandate. So from the very beginning of this nation, in fact, even before this nation was founded in 1776, going back to 1619, when the first ship landed with 20 slaves at Jamestown, Virginia, ship they called the White Lion. America started off on the wrong foot. Started off as banditry. Started off doing evil in the sight of God. How can God bless that which is evil? And so when you compare the way that the Bible identified and described slavery, 6 years, 7th year set free, not sent away empty, not sent away broke, not sent away creditless and jobless and with no money and nowhere to stay, then there is no comparison between what was called biblical slavery here in what became what we know now as America and the Bible version. And so we have a cognitive dissonance, as the psychologist said, and what it really means is that there have been sheer hypocrisy practiced in this country since its inception, even unto this very moment. And that is why we need reparation, because of the fact that the cost of slavery to the black man and black woman was very, very harmful. It cost us wealth, it cost us money, it cost our health, it cost us our legacy. And so we got to try to make that up. I'm going to get into a conversation now with our two guests, Brother Royce Esters. Say hello, Brother Roy.
How you doing, Royce Esters, President of the National Association for
And his sidekick, Brother Jonathan Taylor.
And good afternoon.
All right. Be sure you look at that camera over there so them folk can see your beautiful face and handsome whiskers.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, we're going to start off a little different today. want to let them tell you about the coming up banquet, and then we're going to chop it up a little bit on this reparations thing. Brother Esters, you want to kick them off there?
All right. The National Association for Equal Justice in America, NAEJA, presents the 18th Annual Banquet, Justice in America, October 26, 2019. Keynote speaker, K.W. Toulis, President of the Baptist Ministers Conference of L.A. and Southern California. Proud Bird Tuskegee Room, 11022 Aviation Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. Social hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Dinner 7 p.m. until. Reserve tickets $60 and reserve tables $500. Clarence Esters, first African American engineer for IBM, and thank you, John Peoples, for your tireless years of advocacy for reparations for African Americans posthumously. Also, we're going to have entertainment. Wanda Ray Willis, beautiful singer and actress, received the NAACP Theater Award. She will be the entertainment.
All right. Sound like y'all planning a big, wonderful shindigs, as we used to say in the old days.
Right.
Brother Taylor?
Yes, I really want to express my great appreciation for being here, Reverend Martin.
All right.
And, of course, hats off to you for being at the forefront of keeping this conversation, bringing breath to the conversation of reparations. Yes, indeed, we're looking forward to a real meaningful time at our banquet, and it kind of gives notice to just good old-fashioned civil rights advocacy, and that's really what our banquet is about. We take that Saturday each October each year to just pause and remember all the work that everyone has done. So we're looking forward to a very nice time.
Good. Why don't you tell us how you came to believe or become an advocate for reparations, and why do we need reparations?
Well, for me personally, I have an older brother, a couple of older brothers, but my one older brother, he repeated a saying by James Baldwin when James Baldwin said, for a black man to be aware is to be aggravated or something to the extent.
Be angry, yeah.
Be angry, that's it, to be angry at all times.
Right.
And of course, slavery and emancipation was all a part of the curriculum when we all went through high school as part of U.S. History. And we heard about it and we knew about it, but I really didn't pay much rational attention to it at that time. But as I got older and began to learn more about the Freedmen's Bureau and really began to understand how literally and realistically sophisticated the effort was of President Lincoln to free the slaves, and how our parents did all that work through slavery and then were just cast out. It requires an ongoing conversation. And not just so much a conversation, but actual really some definitive planning and steps of how it can be implemented.
Right. Right. So what would you put as a dollar figure for reparation in today's figures based upon GDP?
Well, I've taken it a little bit further than that, Rev Martin. Mm-hmm. I believe that to just describe the need and the implementation of reparation solely into money doesn't really give it its full description of its breadth. I believe, and we've discussed this at NAEJA quite often, that one way of implementing reparations is to put it in different categories and provide some relief in those categories. Say, for instance, black people living today, every black person in America over 90 years old should just get a cash settlement of, let's say, $250,000. And then let's say every person that has a mortgage that they've been paying on for over 30 years, if it's $300,000 or more, should have their mortgage paid off. Let's say that persons who are in school and have outstanding student loans should have their student loans paid off up to $200,000 or whatever. I would easily calculate a sole figure, though, to be well within the trillions of dollars. It'd be hard for me to put a specific number on it, but I know it's a number and a manner in which it could be attained and provided for.
Sound like a number. What did John say? A number that no man can number. All right, brother, let's just chime in on this.
Okay. I felt that after slavery, the slaves didn't have anywhere to go. I call it the invisible barbed wires. That they was let free, but they didn't have any money. They didn't know where to go. So then after Reconstruction, when they really was elected to Congress and everything, all of a sudden the major corporations hired the Ku Klux Klan to stop them in their tracks for progress of black capitalism. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I looked at it. And I looked at Wall Street. Here we had Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Who, just because he bumped into a white girl, they destroyed Black Wall Street in Tulsa by bombing them. National Guard and everybody was involved, and they just stop us in our tracks. Every time that we try to progress, it's always somewhere they would try to stop us, and by stopping us in our tracks. And that's why we need reparations, because I like to see a movie called City of Reparations and show blacks getting reparation money and how they would live in today's society.
All right. So in other words, Dr. King said, what we need America to do is be true to what it said on paper.
Right.
Because it speaks a high ideal, but it doesn't live up to those high ideals. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways? I know you have a meeting once a month. Mm-hmm. And when is that meeting?
That meeting is every third Saturday at 3 o'clock at Holy Chapel Church on the corner of Aprilla and Rosecrans. We meet there every third Saturday at 3 to 5 p.m.
At Holy Chapel
Baptist Church.
Rosecrans and
Aprilla.
And
Rosecrans.
Aprilla and Rosecrans. Okay, yeah. So that knows. And I'm a member of NAEJA, mm-hmm. and I invite you to come and share with us every third Saturday of the month, mm-hmm. at Rosecrans and Aprilla at Holy Chapel Baptist Church. We're not going to hold you all day. We're going to have a meeting and finish the meeting and get out of there. We're not going to talk ad infinitum. But back to the banquet. You're going to have, what's the lady's name? Is going to be doing the singing, entertainment?
Wanda Ray Willis, the beautiful singer and actress, received the NAAC Theater Awards, and she will be the entertainment. She's a great singer, actress, and a director. Mm-hmm. She will be the entertainment.
Singer, actress, and director. Mm-hmm. All right. And I think you said that your brother used to work for IBM in the early days?
Yes.
What's his name, Clarence?
Clarence Esters was the first African-American engineer for IBM. Mm-hmm. And we also like to thank John Peebles for his tireless years of advocacy for reparations for African Americans posthumously.
Yeah, everybody remember Brother Peebles. Yeah. He used to be carrying that slave ship around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Rev Martin, I think excuse me, Royce, it goes to mention, as far as the banquet, this is our 18th annual.
18th annual.
Even though NAEJA has been beating the trenches for 21 years. Mm-hmm. We missed a couple of years, but this is our 18th annual banquet. Mm-hmm. And it turns out to be a special time at the banquet. Mm-hmm. The community, the supporters, and the public really has an opportunity to experience something that's really informative and relaxing and entertaining all at the same time.
All right, sounds like it's going to be a beautiful affair, mm-hmm. and it's a noble affair because we have to keep beating the drums for reparations. Not because we're going to get reparations in my lifetime. I'm 73 years old. I'm not going to get no reparations, but we got to plant the seed. We got to sound the alarm.
Right.
The research has been done. The data has been collected. The data has been analyzed. And we know that Black people in this country have had a difficult and an arduous and a toilsome journey. Yes, James Weldon Johnson said, "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod felt in the days when hope unborn had died." And those are the poetic ways of talking about reparations. But as we move forward, we know that the government, the Congress, the business world is going to want a dollars and cents figure. And based upon 4 million slaves, enslaved over 250 years, if we just went off the measure of 40 acres and a mule, each acre by today's term would be worth between $3,000 and $6,000. And so that would be, we said 4 million slaves set free. The gross domestic product would be over $40 trillion.
$40 trillion.
You know, and if you look for a mean on average figure, I imagine you come up with $28 trillion that is owed to just those 4 million slaves coming up out of slavery. And what about the 40 million of us that are here now that are the descendants who have battled Jim Crow, who have battled redlining, who have battled segregation, and I know when I came here, I thought California was going to be a promised land, but I come to find out that here in California they had redlining, and we had to stay in certain areas.
Right.
Matter of fact, when I come here, you couldn't come over in Englewood. And you couldn't and the sun couldn't go down on you in Paramount and Bellflower and Lakewood. You better not be in Torrance. You better not get caught in El Segundo.
And don't forget Signal Hill.
Oh, Lord, don't forget Signal Hill. Yes, and that wasn't that far away from where I live. You know, and so racism, white supremacy have had its day, and it is time now that we unmask this imposter for what he is and show the world that this emperor has on no clothes. And one of the ways that we can begin to repair which is what reparations mean. It means to repair. It means to make amends or to make whole those whom we have harmed or who have been injured or wounded by our practices or by our policies. And no such shying away from the dollar figure, because whenever something major, a disaster occurs, there's always a dollar amount put on it. The people who are witnesses or who are victims of that shooting there in Las Vegas, they got a dollar amount. There's a dollar figure. No such shying away from talking about money, because America is about money. Slavery was about money. Racism was about money. Jim Crow was about money. And if it ever was an affirmative action policy, slavery was it.
Can I share, Reverend Martin, and in regards to the money that certainly is due the descendants of the slaves in reparations, I often think about, as far as a comparison, when we had the big bailout, I think the bailout was something like over $700 trillion.
Tell the truth, brother.
Dollars.
Yeah.
I believe the last counted population of the United States was 300 million people. Mm-hmm. So 300 million people, and if everyone had been given $1 million, let's just say, during the bailout, 300 million off of 700 trillion. My goodness,
it still wouldn't have made a damn.
Still wouldn't have made a difference. Still wouldn't have made a dent. Mm-hmm. And there, obviously, this country still is wealthy enough, still is resourceful enough to compensate the descendants of the slaves to amount that would be suitable for the time our parents spent in slavery. We can't repair the physical harm, obviously. Probably would have a hard time repairing the mental harm we've suffered from what our parents had to go through in slavery. But certainly reparations would be a beginning process towards some sort of healing.
Right, because what it would do, at least the country would acknowledge that it did a wrong.
That's right.
And would try to make an effort, a move in a direction toward correcting that wrong.
That's right.
because let's face it, our kids don't have the money to buy housing at today's prices.
That's right.
And one thing I think everybody ought to get out of reparations is a house somewhere to stay, paid for.
It's a house.
That's right.
Because that was how we got, one of the ways we got hurt the worst coming out of slavery, and you didn't have nowhere to stay.
Where to stay?
Well, I look at it as a civil rights organization. It was a civil rights and human rights. It was crime against humanity, and we have legal redress against our government. So I look at it as a national civil rights group. I look at it as legal redress against our government. Our government is the one who benefited from slavery.
Yes.
And we look at it as a legal redress against our government, violating the civil rights and human rights at a crime against humanity, against African Americans.
And that was presented where? At the United Nations?
The United Nations. Yep.
Right.
Under H.R. 40.
All right. And like I said, it was a crime against humanity.
That's right.
And not was it a crime in the past, but it has what? Ongoing effects. It's like when you go into school.
And we have legal redress against our government when they have discriminated against and harassed us, and they retaliate on us. So I'm looking at it as a civil rights issue, and that's why, as a civil rights group, we look at it. And in fact, our Orange County chapter have actually joined the United Nations. So we feel that if the United Nations feel that we deserve reparations, then why is it that the government itself feel like we don't need it?
Right.
Why should we work picking cotton for years and years and years, and all of a sudden we work free? It was almost like mass incarceration.
It was.
It was mass incarceration.
But you couldn't go nowhere.
And that's what's happening in today's society, mass incarceration. Let me give a good example. When we go to court for these people, they want a plea bargain. We can give you 30 years, but sir, this man has good character, and he's not guilty. So why you want to give him a
plea deal like that?
Plea deal.
Yeah.
You know, we want a case like that. We want a case that got a woman off for 28 years. 28 years because they wanted to plead. We wouldn't go for it. We finally got a DA reject right here in Gardena. We did that. And some other things NAEJA done. We saved the post office, saved the proud bird. We're working with the school districts. We win cases all the time on job discrimination of Title VII unfair labor practices. For instance, if you have an application on file, you have to keep that for at least a year. If you tear it and put it in the trash can, then you're violating Title VII unfair labor practices. So I just want people to know that we know about the laws.
Right.
And you got to file within 300 days. And then you can get a right to sue letter. We're in partnership with EOC. We work at EOC a lot. And those are some of the things that we do. And we kind of indirectly, we kind of help save Compton College too.
Right.
Because we work Jonathan did a great job of sending it to all the legislators and everything, went to each city, showed what district it was in. And we have won a lot of cases. We've done for 21 years. The difference by other organizations, we help the poor and the middle class. I don't know what the other organizations are doing, but I know that it's a need. And I think Jesus Christ, they didn't like the idea of him helping the poor. And I think that's what happened to him.
Right. Yeah, so Brother Taylor, you want to give us a...
Well, yes.
A little help on how you were able to help save Compton College?
Certainly.
Through NAEJA.
Through NAEJA, and NAEJA really stepped up. And I don't want to diminish the care that the community had in terms of that. But I will tell you, Reverend Martin, I really gathered a whole new appreciation for this what we were taught, this taxation without representation. And I'll say this, and I'll tell you why it meant so much for us to reclaim direct governance over Compton Community College. taxation without representation, the founding fathers called it tyranny. That's what they called it, tyranny. And obviously we know, based on our written U.S. history, that it was so important that they fought a war over it.
Sure did.
They fought a war over it. But
was it John Adams told the king, we will not be your Negroes?
yeah. Compton College is unique in that it has jurisdictions in about 9 surrounding cities. Believe it or not, the cities of Lakewood, Downey, Bellflower, Paramount, Linwood, Carson, and of course Compton all have jurisdictions, communities or neighborhoods within the college, within the Compton Community College District. Compton College, because of some mismanagement of their books some time ago, was placed into, let's say, receivership, and a neighboring community college was given trustee authority over that college.
I don't want to cut you off, but we're down to our last 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Anyway, we did what we did to really bring that college back around. We did a lot of advocacy to those surrounding cities, a lot of advocacy in the community, a lot of letter writing to the chancellor's office.
Hit that banquet again.
October 26th, we're having our banquet. October 26, 2019. Keynote speaker, K.W. Toulis, President of the Baptist Ministers Conference of Southern California. You can buy tickets at the door or buy a table at the door at October 26, 2019.
That's at the corner of La Cienega and 110th Street.
Right.
La Cienega and 110th. You make it that far, you got it.
Mm-hmm. And the tickets are $60 and reserved tables are $500. You can purchase your tickets at the door.
All right. As we wrap up, I want to thank my guests for being here, and Brother Royce Esters and Dr. Jonathan Taylor for sharing with us. Was it 2 minutes? All right. And we will be continue to push and campaign and preach for reparation, because it is something we as black people are due from the government of the United States of America. We the people deserve reparations. Is that right, Brother Esters?
That's right.
Because we have been drugged through the mire. They said America was built on justice, liberty and justice for all. But Thurgood Marshall said it was a dichotomy because they denied liberty and justice to the Negro. And so as I wrap up, as I always say, with all the billions and millions of dollars in this country, if just working hard by itself was all it took, every slave coming out of slavery would have been a millionaire. And so it's not just about hard work. It takes something else, because they took our labor, they took our hard work. They made money, sure, but we didn't make any. And so as I close, Rev Martin want to tell you again, as they always tell you, if you working for somebody and they don't want to pay you, don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We out.
I've had some weary days, and some sleepless nights. But when I look around and nothing spins over, all of my good days, outweigh my bad days, yes they do.